Hello, welcome YouTube. Another book review for you. Looking at Will by Will Smith with Mark Manson. Today I've got a few notes that I took on it, and so you have to forgive me for reading those. So a couple different things. Number one, I got hooked on this book or saw this book as a result of watching YouTube. And so the YouTube algorithm pointed me to The Best Shape of My Life with Will Smith. And so you can Google that. It's on his YouTube channel, and I think there's 6 or 8 episodes. But in the midst of this, he's getting in physical shape, and he's also writing a book, and he's giving highlights of the book. And I grew up listening to DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, and so it was interesting for me. And I'm not a big biography guy. This is probably the first biography I've ever done as far as a review on this channel. I'm especially not a big biography guy when it comes to living people. So anyhow, we'll give it a shot and see what happens. So like I said, it's by Will Smith, and so also Mark Manson, who's famous for his book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. Kind of made himself popular by putting the F word in the title of the book. And overall, with this book, I would say, like, do not purchase it. There's horrific language throughout it. So one of the critiques of Will Smith in the world of rap is that he's not hard, he's not tough. And part of that is that he doesn't use explicit language in his rap music. And so to me, that was one of the neat things that kind of set him apart from the rest of the rap world. But he tried to make up for it in this book. So I don't know what the exact count is, but there are plenty of MFs in here. There are plenty of the N-word, which I guess isn't offensive if you're African American, that you can put it in your book and write about it. And if you're looking at for small children, just want to say that there's kind of sexual encounters in there too. So whatever age you think is appropriate for people to be reading about that. So that's reason number one why I'd say not purchase it. Reason number two is the best parts of the book are really already on YouTube. So the really powerful chapters and sections of chapters he reads are on YouTube already. And then also it's not very revealing. There are a few transparent moments in the book. Throughout the YouTube series, he was saying, hey, I want to be as transparent as I can and whatever. And maybe it was cathartic for him to kind of confess his shortcomings and faults with lost friendships and fights with his kids or fights with his wife or whatever. But overall, I was like, hey, this isn't that revealing. One of the big things for me is kind of the mystery surrounding his wife and their kind of open marriage or affairs or whatever. And there's no chapter on it. There's no section on it. I didn't know about Jada and Tupac. Didn't know that they were close and friends. There is a confession of his kind of confession, I guess, if you consider a bad thing, as far as his DMT use. But overall, just not very revealing, which if I was writing a biography, I'm not going to put a revealing chapter in there about my wife either. But he didn't. You may enjoy some of the backstories. I enjoyed those. You kind of have origin stories behind different songs. Neat one about how Summertime came along. About the movies he was in. Spielberg sitting him down and kind of pitching Men in Black to him and telling him, hey, you need to do this. Also didn't know that Bad Boys had originally casted Dana Carvey and John Lovitz instead of Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. So that would have been a terrible movie. There's a good section in there about the history of rap if you're not familiar with how rap music kind of evolved and came to be where it's at now. Throughout the book, you did get to see kind of the evolution of Will Smith, right? So he goes from young kid, high school kid to rapper and broke, and then goes into TV, and then moves from TV into movie stars and just a huge worldwide star. And so I think there's a lesson for all of us in there in kind of adapting and dealing with change, and change being the one constant in life. So that was neat to see. There's also a section at the end just talking about how it's really impossible to make others happy, and that has to be on them, and you can do all you can, kind of leading them to that, but you're not going to be able to make anyone else happy. As far as the spiritual journey as a pastor, kind of interested in that. And specifically, he mentions Christianity in a couple different places. His early experience with Gigi, his grandmother, and just her authentic love for the Lord and how she really lived it out in her life, which was kind of cool. Later on in the book, you'll have him mention just some different kind of New Agey type stuff. And then later on in the book, he's challenged by his son Trey, that becomes a believer. And his son asks him 2 important questions. First, what do you worship? And then second, are you sure? And so props to Will for kind of including that in the book and opening that up and really revealing that. And then really it was kind of a letdown in some regards, because his response to his son, was, well, my Bible's old and worn, and your Bible's still new and crisp, and so why don't you come back to me when your Bible's worn, and I'll show you the truth. I'll tell you what's up in life. And he said, if you want to ponder the life of Christ and the spiritual context, historical context, and then even mythological, if you can handle it. And the way he phrased that, I was like, okay, like Will Smith has been given some special enlightenment that the rest of us don't know. And so anyhow, that was, like I said, a little bit of a letdown. Overall, with the book, like I said, just as a recap, I went and purchased it for the reasons mentioned prior, as far as just horrific language in it, and then most of the best parts are on YouTube anyway. Also, I think maybe it would have been better if he wrote just a self-help book. The way that the chapters are lined out, he's got like fear, fantasy, performance, power, hope, ignorance, adventure, pain, destruction, desire, and I almost feel like, man, he could have just wrote a self-help book and had those be the themes, and then kind of include some personal stories in there with it, but it's more of a biography. And then overall, like, I feel like he's still searching for approval, whether that's approval from his wife and not including a chapter, or approval from the fan base, or approval from kind of hardcore rap people, and he wants to prove himself tough or whatever. So anyhow, it was interesting. I do think it was an authentic attempt by him to kind of open himself up and put it out there for everybody. So kudos to him. Wouldn't recommend the book, but you're free to check it out yourself. So hope this review helps, and we'll see you next time.